Dricus du Plessis talks about using some of his magical trash-talking abilities that he uses during press conferences, which usually result in his opponents crying. The South African's rise to championship has been an interesting one, and his unorthodox fighting style, which can be described as awkward, gave everybody he has faced in the UFC big problems. What also can be described in that manner is his ability on the mic, but surprisingly, it also achieves the desired result, to make his opponent get emotional and uncomfortable. Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya have already fallen victim to some of that DDP verbal warfare. And as fans wait to find out about updates on Dricus' next title defense, when he will most likely take on Khamzat Chimaev, many of them also wonder whether DDP's trash talk will affect Chimaev as well. And as everyone else, they're also curious to see how the pressers, interaction, and the face-off will go. It seems we have a new super trash talker, and it happened out of nowhere. DDP talks about the Chimaev fight and the possible trash talk that would go down during build-up.
Khamzat, we've seen him get emotional before, outside of, fight week. Well, do you think he would get emotional with you, or do you think you'd get a reaction out of him going into the fight like you have with, Sean and Israel and a lot of the other guys that you fight?
Well, listen, to that extent, I never go out there to be a trash talker and to, make the guys cry. It just happens to happen that way.
It's a natural skill that you have, brother. Is this something that you're just born with? What's going on? You're just going around making everyone...
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 3 brothers, so I think it's the way we grew up. I think that's the banter. And, if you the friends, I think if that stuff makes people cry, don't come to one of our get-togethers as friends. You'll definitely walk out crying, because that's just the way it is. But, if you look at my fights with a guy like Darren Till, if you look at my fights with a guy like Rob, and all the guys before that, I've always been respectful up until you try to bully me or be disrespectful. If you try to be disrespectful, I will give it to you.
Chael Sonnen still hasn't let go of the absurdity that was created by the UFC, as it relates to John Jones's and Tom Aspinall's titles in the heavyweight division. After Jones successfully defended his belt against Stipe on UFC 309, Chael was the only one, out of all analysts and desk commentators, questioning whether Tom had been stripped of his interim title by that point, and if not, why did Bruce Buffer announce John as the undisputed champion if there is still an active interim champion in the division, thus Jones could not possibly be undisputed. When Chael asked Tom that question, the interim champ dismissed it, saying that Chael is the only one talking about this. But in reality, it is a valid point to make, and UFC's nonsensical treatment of the titles, in this case, is at the very least humorous. First, an interim champion defending his interim title, then John defending his title, and now, according to UFC, John is still undisputed, while Tom holds another title in the same division. The only way this could be coherent is if Tom had been stripped of his belt. The moment John and Stipe entered the octagon, Chael comments on this.
The rules that we make up on the spot, particularly as it has to do with interim status, you can't have both. Those aren't Chael's rules. That's not company rules. That's linguistics rules. You cannot have an undisputed champion in the presence of an interim champion. So if Tom is the interim champion, what, I ask you, is John? What did John just fight for? What belt did they put around his waist? The next time John fights, that belt is the one on the line. So what is that belt called? And that does lie a problem. You likely would say undisputed. You likely would. I would stand up before the court and I would read the definition of undisputed for you, and you'd realize that's not possible. But they didn't strip Tom. Now, that could mean a couple of things, okay? That could mean that we are going to adhere to the rule, which is the healthy interim champion fights a healthy undisputed champion. An interim title, at a minimum, is a number 1 contenders card. Okay, I hear you on that.
Francis Ngannou goes crazy on a sparring partner after getting locked up in a triangle, which results in a scuffle at the gym. His sparring partner, Russian PFL fighter Denis Goltsov, revealed the incident to Russian reporters of the MMA channel Ushatayka. According to Denis, it was just a regular day at the gym. No prior conflicts existed between him and Francis or any other of their teammates. But a moment during a sparring session that triggered Ngannou to go crazy on him caused a heated altercation in the gym. What caused all of this? As Denis states, was a triangle choke that he was able to put on Ngannou. And when Francis realized he couldn't grapple his way out of it, instead of tapping, he started throwing down punches viciously at Dennis's face, when it was supposed to be only a light spar, as there is a significant weight difference between the two. After the reporter asked him if he has been doing sparring with Francis recently, this is what Goltsov said about the incident. Quote, "Yeah, in fact, we sparred very recently, and it was the most interesting one yet. It's never surprising to hear that sparrings go heated and sometimes out of control. But I just had a crazy moment with Ngannou, and it's funny how things can happen out randomly like that sometimes. We were supposed to do kind of like touch sparring that day, and we started just moving around. Then he took me down, and soon I was able to get a triangle on him, and I expected him to tap, which is a normal thing during training. It's nothing serious. I noticed he wasn't trying to tap and desperately tried to get out of it. I held on to the choke, and when he realized he wasn't getting out, he started raining down punches on me, like he was in a real fight. I let go and covered up, and when my teammates noticed this, they rushed in and separated us. Then, some of my brothers got into an altercation with him, as he clearly crossed the line there for a moment. I calmed them all down, and that was it for our sparring that day. But no hard feelings. It's all good. We talked it out privately as well." Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson preview Aljamain Sterling versus Movsar Evloev. This featherweight clash will take place on UFC 310 December 7th. Ilia Topuria needs some exciting contenders, and while he will most likely face Diego Lopez or Alex Volkanovski in his next title defense, having prospects down the line that the public gets excited about is always favorable to a champion. Sterling defeated Calvin Kattar in his debut fight at featherweight, and UFC matching him up with Evloev signals that the brass views him as a worthy asset at the top of the division, possibly a future title challenger, especially if he gets past the undefeated Russian. Movsar is on an impressive 8-fight winning streak in the UFC, but there is one problem with him. All of these wins came by decision, and his fighting style isn't really fan-friendly. Fans don't expect much violence and excitement when they tune into his bouts, but accumulating wins is still the clear path for him to become undeniable. Big John and Josh react to the fight.
Look, I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say I think Sterling gets the submission and beats him.
Okay. I can see it.
I think Sterling's going to get to the back. He may not, maybe he won't finish him, but I think Sterling wins this fight. I think he's found his newfound weight class. I think, outside of a world beater of a striker, I don't really see how Evloev wins this fight. He can be taken down. He's a good wrestler. He can scramble. He rolls well, all of these things. But Sterling, I think, to me, is on another level in the grappling department in terms of the submission-wise. He can at least get to the back. He takes the back. He reminds me a lot of Patchy Mix. I think Patchy's a little bit better of a grappler, just technically, but both of them are fantastic. I think on any given day, either one could beat each other in the grappling department. But in the Evloev fight, I'm leaning all the way towards Sterling. I think Sterling gets this takedown. I think he controls the round by round. And as each takedown happens, it gets easier to get. He'll continue to dominate those positions, I believe. So I think he's going to win this fight.